Hello and welcome to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game news for you right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and on podcast services on your platform of choice. Joining me this week is Mr. Chris.
Hey gamers, hope you're good. Looking forward to this.
And also Mr. Rob, who was late for the recording because he was playing Helldivers, then abandoned his squad to join us. Rob, what's your excuse?
Look, right, when you're in your mid-30s, okay, it's a constant balance between doing the right thing by your bros and then, living up to your responsibilities and, like...
Tonight he didn't either.
Which way is which here?
What would you have done, Richie?
I wouldn't have jumped into a game of Helldivers right before you
Exactly, right, so shut up, right?
Richie wouldn't have bought Helldivers in the first place because he hates democracy, remember?
Yeah, and he'd have sympathised with the bugs.
Out of curiosity, who's your bros and who's your responsibility in this conversation? Because I could see it working either way around.
Well, my responsibility, as is everyone's, is to manage democracy. So, I don't know. That's
managed
a question,
the managed decline of democracy.
Wow. I bet Richie hates this bit about Helldivers because, like, any other normal game Lives of Service would have died like 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
And the sheer rise of this means this joke's going to just keep going and keep going. And then the one time he eventually cracks and buys it, we all stop playing.
That sounds
the world stops playing.
By the time it comes to PlayStation Plus, I'll actually get around to playing it. User 2 will be long gone. Or you'll be like level 1 billion. And I'll jump in the game with you and then like I'll die instantly and you just complete the level. I'll just be sat there on like kill cam or something.
You're talking like me and Chris are going to be dead then for a second. It's like you'll be long gone.
No, I mean like I went the other way with it. It's like you were way ahead of me. I could have went like you guys will be done with the game, but we do have a great show lined up for you this week. We'll be revealing everything that happened at the Xbox Partner Showcase, EA dropping some classic titles on Steam, and WB Boss just doesn't seem to get gaming at all. But before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell icon so you're kept in the loop of all the fantastic content here at GamerGuildTV, such as the GamerGuild Podcast, every single Monday on YouTube and podcast services, our weekly live streams where, Chris, last week we started Gears of War.
Gears of War, yes. The OG. Or was it the OG GOW? Was God of War before Gears of War? Which came first?
There's no
in the comments below.
I feel like Gears of War was always like called, like it was referred to as GAAS.
GAAS.
Like,
yeah.
But God of War was like PS2, right? So
maybe it's just a case of both came out at the same time. All the PlayStation fans like God of War, and all the Xbox fans like Gears of War, and then they fought on the schoolyard.
What could ours be? Gamers of something for our Gamer Guild. Yeah, we could do something like that. Is that a cat, Rob, or a feather duster?
No, well, it can act as both, but it's a cat most of the time.
Chris, Gears of War, thoughts?
Yes, loving it. So yeah, we've jumped in to continue like our Xbox retrospective look at the back catalogue, and Gears is probably, I'd quite happily say, probably my favourite Xbox franchise from what little I've already played. Yeah. Like, even though I've played through Halo 1 and 2 now, there's already enough in this title to make me like, this is right up my street. Third person, shooter. It just feels a bit more grounded and it has a bit more direction than the Halo games have so far. Like, no disrespect to the Halo games, but I'm brought in more with the characters and the story infinitely more. Halo infinitely more already.
I'm exactly the same. I think it does seem to have more direction. I think that's the right word. It seems to be a bit tighter than Halo. At times, Halo, when we jumped, at times it felt like you're jumping into maps, and there was a lot of repetitive like rooms and stuff, and we kind of fizzled at times before like a story beat would happen. Gears seems to have a bit more like the pacing seems to be better in terms of the story delivery.
You have to remember as well, Gears was the game that really brought back like cover systems in a massive way.
Didn't it kind of invent them, really?
I guess so, yeah. But yeah, there was an interesting because I was super into Gears when I was younger, and there was an interview with one of the game designers, and he was talking about he got the idea when he was doing paintball on the weekend, and he was just like cowering behind a stack of hay or something while it's getting like peppered. He's like, "Oh, this is what getting shot feels like."
So why isn't this ever been in a video game before?
Yeah, and that's where it kind of came from.
Like, because I know in previous games you probably could just like duck and hide, but you wouldn't be that like lock onto the terrain kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does. I do think there's obviously something to be said about there's like a 4 or 5 year gap between the first Halo and this one. I think Halo 2 maybe was probably a 2 year turnaround. So you've got to imagine that storytelling in games and stuff had evolved quite a lot. Plus, we're also playing the Ultimate Edition, so it also has that slick polish of like modern sensibilities on it. So our lens may be skewed a little bit, but already I can see myself enjoying this like absolutely tons. We did like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we did
so I think,
the first 2 chapters.
Yeah, so we're about halfway through. I think the first game's not too long, but yeah, having an absolute blast. It's jumping back into these franchises. Is what's great about video games is that if I enjoy it, I've got like 5 other ones to play through, which surely can only get better and more beautiful and stuff. So yeah, very intrigued. Looking forward to playing the following acts this Thursday as well, amongst other things. Yeah.
Being playing anything else, Chris, other than Helldivers? Because Helldivers is in the news, so I'll let you two gush over the Helldivers when we get to that point.
Oh, so much. The joys of being off work still. Like, it's my last week now, unfortunately, but having like that time to just pick stuff to do without like adult responsibilities. I said to you on the live stream, I had my brother around the other day and we just did some classic like PlayStation like retro stuff. So we continued through our James Bond games. So we went to like From Russia with Love, Sean Connery. Never played it before, did not know what to expect. Funnily enough, third person cover shooter, just like Gears.
There you go.
However, you're playing as Sean Connery randomly. At some point EA went, you know what, let's go back to the second movie, not Dr. No, the second movie. And you basically play out scenes from the movie, but I did not recall from the movie. In the opening scene, you're outside the Houses of Parliament having a lavish champagne party dinner with some celebrities, and the Prime Minister's daughter's there. She gets kidnapped by some Russian guys who have jetpacks with them, and you literally chase them and her into a room, and he literally flies out through the skylight after saying some cuss words to James Bond, and then you subsequently follow him with another jetpack that apparently they brought a spare for Bond singular, fly around Big Ben, and then a helicopter attacks you. You shoot the helicopter down. Bear in mind, the daughter of the Prime Minister is in the helicopter, but you have no reservations about shooting rockets at it. That gets downed, and guess how he saves her?
Speedboat.
Helicopter's on fire, spinning out of control. He's in a jetpack.
There's something about his watch, mate. I don't know.
No, my brother called it before it happened. He flies through the middle of the helicopter,
okay.
grabs her.
Where the helicopter doors
side.
are open on either side, just goes through it.
Out the other side in the most ridiculous, most over-the-top James Bond thing I've ever seen.
That sounds like more like Roger Moore era Bond than...
We didn't... Again, I don't recall that happening in From Russia with Love, so correct me in the chat.
You watched The Office, didn't you, Chris? The US Office?
Yeah.
It seems like a script that Michael Scott would write.
Michael Scott.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, played some others. 007 Legends, where I think I also said to you, Richie, Daniel Craig, you know in Skyfall when he gets shot and he falls off the bridge, and then the credits start for it. It basically, when he hits the water, it goes into like this delirious dream where Daniel Craig wakes up in I think it's probably a care home or like a villa on a beach, and you basically relive the memories of the previous Bonds. So I'm currently playing Goldfinger as Daniel Craig, where there's like Pussy Galore's there, Goldfinger's there, the girl on the bed's there, but I'm Daniel Craig, and I'm talking to Judi Dench's M over the phone, and I have a Sony Xperia touchscreen phone, even though Goldfinger was in the 60s. So it's all like what happens.
It's a multiverse.
I mean, obviously it's the same Bond technically, but it's just so surreal seeing Daniel Craig play out, and it's weird. It's
not the same M, because during the Pierce Brosnan era, Judi Dench was introduced as the replacement to the M, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally not the same person.
It is multiverse is probably the best way to put it. Yeah. But I had a fun time. Then we went back and played some Future Cop LAPD from the PlayStation.
That's a game.
And it holds up so well, so well. Like even though the tank controls are like strafe left, strafe, right and left with the triggers, just the mowing down humans in a rotten LA in like 2098 or whatever it is, and then transforming into a vehicle to run them down is it's so fun. And just taking out Sky Captain and the gameplay. The only downside, the reason we stopped playing, you die right back to the beginning of the level. No checkpoints, no saves. And after that happened, it was kind of like that deflating video game classic arcade motion of, I'm done. I don't have the time to play through 20 minutes more of that again.
That's a game that should get like a remaster with a few tweaks.
Overdue. And then the final one was Dead Nation, which I tweeted out about the other day, saying Helldivers' success has made me just yearn for a Dead Nation third-person remake. Same as Helldivers, it's got that whole like global thing. Weirdly enough, It has the global charts of like how well every country's doing in the fight against the zombies. Lebanon, number 1.
Okay.
Yeah. Then it goes the usual like USA, UK, Germany, France, like all your big countries who play games.
It just for
Lebanon,
population?
number 1. I don't know, but again, if it was US, probably wouldn't. I don't know. Either way, give me a Helldivers, but Dead Nation as well, and give the same thing. Like the world is fighting the zombie threat. You go to each new city, the zombies push back. You lose Chicago. You have to go back in and liberate Chicago from the zombies. But it's called Dead Nation instead of Helldivers. That's where like I left my gaming, and then I had to go do other adult stuff. But yeah, that, and I'm chipping away at Banishes still. Absolutely loving it. Clean up the map. Can't recommend it more if you're looking for a game to play in the meantime. But yeah, lots for me. More than I've probably ever played in weeks and months. But
that's a haul.
Loving the classics. It is a haul, and obviously my Spec Ops: The Line series is finished. For those listening on Monday, the finale's up on there. What a finale! What a twist! Didn't expect to see it coming. It's all psychological and PTSD, and there's a couple of people in the comments already been like, "This game, like for its 12-year-old age, the story's better than a lot of modern day games." And it's like, I'm eating good right now, guys. Everyone like retro, current, modern, new, and we haven't even got to the EA classics in the news.
Yeah. Ooh. Rob,
I'm boring in comparison. It's just been non-stop Helldivers. I can't even play The Witcher at the moment because my girlfriend's on holiday and she wants to like absorb the story, so I can't progress that game either. So it's 100% Helldivers.
Oh damn!
I didn't even look at another game. I'm faithful.
You're faithful to Helldivers.
Yeah. I got nothing interesting to add from Chris's smorgasbord of.
Next week I'll be back to 1. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
What about you, Richie?
Well, last week on the show, I did say I had started Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but wasn't far into it. I'm about 20 hours in now, and it's fantastic. My one bit of advice, which I did post on our Discord, is if you're starting the game now, when you get to the open world section, don't do what I did. I just started exploring. Don't do that. Progress the story till you meet Chadley, who's just a character. You meet him fairly early if you just do a handful of story missions and then explore, because he opens up a Chadley. He was a new character for remake.
Oh, right,
he's the one you have the combat simulators for. You'll meet him again. You meet him fairly early on.
Chadley.
One word.
That still hasn't clarified. Right, okay.
Yeah. You meet him fairly early on, but he opens a lot of the open world stuff where you can explore, but there's no point until you meet him. And also, don't move past the first area you get into, when the story tells you to, until you're ready and you're happy with what you've done, because I think it's quite late game you get to go back. So the first like open world area, I did about 2 hours worth of exploring, which was a waste of time. Then I did some main story stuff, and now I can't go back to do the exploring properly till later. So, but other than that, it's fantastic. Like, I'm really loving it. Like, can't wait to get back to it.
But worth the hype.
It is absolutely worth the hype. And you know what else is worth the hype? Chris introducing us to the
weekly discount. That's off 20% off the storefront. All merchandise, everything 20% off. Need to mention it because it's this week only, and if you miss out, you miss out. So get in there, get your hoodies, get your bandanas for your dogs or cats, and your Gamer Guild t-shirts.
Like this one. I'm literally wearing one.
Like that one. Like that one. And our giveaway. We mentioned our giveaway winner, but you've not reached out to us yet, Humble. Was it Humble who won?
I think
last
so,
week.
yeah.
I think it was Humble who won the t-shirt. Reach out to us, otherwise we will keep it.
I am humble.
I am humble.
Yeah.
But yes,
anybody who receives one of the the gifts from the merchandise store, 20% off, would be very gracious. Just like
the graciously gathered Gamer Guild Gazette, aka the news.
The news.
It's not even my week to host, Richie. I'm stepping up like that.
I teed him up and then forgot about the store thing, so that was my bad. Thank you, Rob. You bailed us out. The podcast would have been ruined without you.
So I don't get a thanks for remembering a key critical discount for our fans.
Thank you, Chris, for remembering how to host the show that I'm currently hosting.
That's right.
My bad, guys, my bad. And as always, our news is brought to you by our Guild Heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p over on the YouTube channel. Thank you all for your support. We couldn't do this without you. First news story of the week. we've had an Xbox partner showcase. It was kind of stealth dropped. It wasn't. They seem to be doing. Have you noticed? They seem to be doing this a lot now. Sony did it before. Where it's like, oh, we're having a showcase tomorrow. Yeah, I wish they'd give us a bit more lead time, but which one? Because if they had, we might have been able to cover it. But shall we get into it? So this was a partner showcase. So there was no Xbox first party stuff. It was all third party stuff. What I'll do is I'll go through the list of what games were announced, and then we can kind of cherry pick what we want to talk about. So we had Unknown 9 Awakening, Sleight of Hand, The Alters, Creatures of Ava, Roblox Chucky, The Sinking City 2, Final Fantasy XIV Online, The Stalker Trilogy, Monster Jam Showdown, Persona 3 Expansion Pass, that's Persona 3 Reload Expansion Pass, The First Berserker, Tales of Kenzara Zao, Frostpunk 2, and Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. Where would you like to start? I'm going to throw it to you, Chris, first.
Yeah, I'll jump in with just to kind of caveat all this. I know it was short notice, but at the same time, I think the expectations for this one, they'll have a showcase in 3 months' time in June, no doubt, for the summer at E3. That'll be their big go-to. They've just had the developer direct, so I think for this one, I didn't really have any expectations. So when it was a partner showcase especially, I knew it would be lesser titles, or again, subjectively lesser titles. For me, the one that stood out initially was Alters. Or The Alters, I should say. Initially, because the logo's atrociously harsh on my eyeballs. Bright pink and a font that does not... if you're dyslexic, you cannot read this.
It's not clean, is it?
No, it's all over the place. Unfortunately, because the game looks really interesting. It's if you've not seen the trailer, if you've not watched it, it's a survival game with a sci-fi twist where it's one sole guy who's a worker for a probably dystopian corporation in the future. And to survive and to kind of live and basically protect himself, he can create alternate versions of himself, so like clones, essentially. But the key difference is, each one of his clones, you have to pick an element of his past to not do. So it would be like us, go back, and if your clone would maybe not have went to college, or it would never have met Robert Ritchie, or it would never have learned how to drive. So your clone is there's something in his life that's slightly different from you, and that alters his personality, his emotions, the tools of his trade that he can actually apply himself to. So, for example, the one who hasn't gone to college might not be very good at the science stuff or the math stuff that he's supposed to do to survive on this sci-fi base.
He's got street smarts, though, Chris. He's got street smarts.
Book smarts.
But street smarts ain't no good when you're in space and there are no streets. But yeah, so that one, that was the one that kind of got me... my curiosity. Again, I said for the logo initially, and then I was like, oh, actually, they've got a good concept here. They just need to get a new graphic designer in to redo the logo. And the whole point is you've got this kind of big sci-fi base that you're trying to push along. So think Fallout Shelter in a way.
I was thinking a weird mix when I first saw it of Death Stranding and Fallout Shelter.
Yeah, that's probably a good combination of it. But I do really like the concept of this, just alternate versions of yourself, working together. There's a whole skill tree, almost like not a skill tree in a way. Think of a branching narrative path where each version of you links in with a different story. So I think that's the most intriguing of all the titles that we saw.
I think the city building could be really fun in this, the managing your base kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
But can you imagine if there was more than one of me trying to work together?
I mean, you could do a podcast without me and Rob.
That's true.
Unless one of them
I don't know, you'd all just miss the giveaway.
The giveaway in the start.
That's like a canon event in Ritchieism.
Absolutely. Maybe one of those versions bought Helldivers, Rob. We could hang out with him instead.
Knows?
Yeah. There's
one version out there who likes games at the service.
Yeah. Deep in the multiverse. There's just only one, just one.
Yeah,
just one having the time of his life. But aside from that, The Alters. Not a biblical game. I thought initially as well the name was it's going to be about churches and pews and stuff, but no, it's not. Coming to Game Pass though, so if you're intrigued by it, then it's coming to Game Pass and Windows, so fantastic. That's probably the best of the bunch, and if we get it for free on Game Pass, then even better for me. So yeah, that was my top pick. What about you guys?
I'm going to quickly cover the Persona 3 expansion pass. Although I stopped playing it. The expansion pass has 3 waves, as they're calling them. However, the waves are basically DLC drops. So the first two are... Well, the first one is just some background music from Persona 4 and 5, which is pretty cool. And the second one being just some like cosmetic stuff. The third one is episode Aegis, which is actually a DLC expansion. So if you are still playing Persona 3 and you're looking forward to it, the dates will be in March for the first wave, May for the second wave, and September for the third wave. For me, I'd personally only really be particularly interested in the wave 3. But yeah. Rob, anything you want to bring up?
Well, I think Alters was the one that kind of piqued my interest as a concept. But I kind of like the look of Sleight of Hand as well. Not as a big thing I'd sink a lot of time into, but it's got this kind of like witchy vibe to it, which I think is good to play with my girlfriend. Kind of like the art style involved. So that was another like standout for me. So
yeah,
I think I'll check that out.
So Sleight of Hand that's the one where you're like a witch who's getting attacked, like something's happened with you've been framed by your old coven, and there's a detective trying to figure out what's going on. It seems like a very good narrative driven story there.
Yeah, it's described as a third person stealth game, which again is always intriguing. But yeah, using a cursed deck of cards in a rain-slick city where ritual magic and cursed artifacts set apart those with power from those without. And it definitely seems like it's set in like the 1920s or 30s or something from the way they're speaking. So I'm picturing like, think Metal Gear Solid, but you've got, instead of weapons, you've got a cursed deck of cards, which is going to do something to the story as you kind of sneak around. And I like the name. Sleight of Hand's a cool name.
Yeah, it's just like the bunch of different layers of, I guess, themes, which kind of caught my attention.
And it's Game Pass as well.
Nice.
Yeah. There's loads of them, which I think any Microsoft event we tend to get about a third of them are Game Pass, which is great. And one I did see that probably I'd pick out for you, Richie, not maybe so much so for the gameplay itself, but just the creator. It's from Rihanna Pratchett.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw Creatures of Ava, which essentially looks like Bug Snacks / Pokemon. It's like it's our next Palwell, potentially, where you're going around with a flute in this beautifully whimsical, artistic world. And again, we know Rihanna Pratchett from Lost Words Beyond the Page can write a terrific, emotionally hitting story with these cute little creatures in like a 3D environment. So yeah, I think Pokemon, think Bug Snacks.
But it's not about battling, it's more about preserving and conservation.
Mm-hmm. That's where no doubt she's going to go to town on like story and meaning and hitting home with, I don't know, extinction potentially. But yeah, it looks great, looks beautiful. Like art style's fantastic. And yeah, that one stood out for me just for Rihanna
very
Pratchett.
Vibrant, very pink at times.
It is, absolutely. Any other ones for you, Richie? Not Roblox and Chucky not doing it for you?
No, Roblox and Chucky.
What is Roblox? Can we just say? Like, I know it's out on like all platforms
I'm still
now.
not 100% sure of this.
But this trailer with these, like, I know Minecraft is blocky, but Roblox just looks utter shit.
Isn't it one of them games where it's like a platform for you to build games within? And then you can buy stuff. It's like a game engine stroke game platform kind of. With lots. Do you remember when we played Creator before? I think it's that kind of vibe, but successful.
But it looks so bad. Like that's
the thing.
But you know when
you can put those microtransactions
Blocks,
and the kids will buy it.
Yeah, but you know when your friends had Mega Blocks instead of Lego as a kid, you know when I hang out with them, playing with them.
Mega Blocks,
it's like this, but I get what Roblox is. Totally get it. Why is it at like an Xbox like part? Like it just like you know what we've seen. You see the cadence of all the games, and we just say the Alters looks crazy, amazing. Sleight of Hand looks great. This Rihanna Pratchett game looks gorgeous and vibrant, and then you've got something from mid 2000s levels of quality being showcased at this event. And I know it's for contracts and partnerships, but it just kind of dipped the quality of the whole presentation a little bit, having this segued in there randomly for me.
It's like when you get the Hoyoverse stuff in like the Game Awards. That's how I can't. My reaction to this. This is one that's paying the bills.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll touch very briefly on Final Fantasy XIV because we're getting the full Xbox release on the 21st of March, and it's kind of coming to Game Pass. You can claim the starter edition through Game Pass Ultimate perks between the 21st of March and the 19th of April. I must admit I have very little knowledge of Final Fantasy XIV because it's an online games as a service kind of thing. But it's one of them where it seemed to come out and over time it's built a strong community and it's usually up for Game Awards, isn't it, for ongoing stuff. So if you are into Final Fantasy or you are into your MMOs, it's probably worth checking out, especially since the Starter Edition is available for free for a limited time to claim it. So it's worth claiming for that. The Stalker trilogy.
Yeah.
Oh, Discord's been talking a bit about this. Because we know there's a new Stalker game coming out at some point. Did we get the date? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I want to say September, but it's changed and chopped and moved because of the Ukraine war so many times. I wouldn't, off the top of my head, I wouldn't want to say, but I can find out while we.
Yeah, but we're getting the Stalker Legends of the Zone trilogy, which contains the first 3 Stalker games: Shadow of Chernobyl, Clear Sky, and Call of Pripyat. Did I butcher that sufficiently enough?
I think you were close enough.
Yeah, and it's out now on Xbox and PlayStation.
Not Game Pass, weirdly enough.
No, it's not.
I know it's not an Xbox exclusive, but with Stalker 2, it is coming 5th of September this year, by the way, so it was September. I thought they would have had a deal to, like, Stalker 2 is coming in September to Game Pass. Here's the other ones in Game Pass to kind of build up, but I guess some deals just don't go to Game Pass.
And you know what? Looking at the trailer, I think you can tell it's a bit of an older game, but I think graphically it holds up well enough. So I think
big Metro.
I think our art style does well to hold up as well in lots of games. GAAS holds up quite well because of it as well.
Yeah, but it's kind of quite a realistic art style. Usually, when the more stylized you get, the more it holds up. But I think it looks decent. There's sometimes when you get close up with a character model, definitely. You can see, there's definitely a newer game would be better. But I think there's probably, if you're craving for a first-person shooter, it's worth checking out.
Yeah, definitely.
There's quite a few in here, actually. Like now you break it down and look at it, that are quite intriguing, but I don't know if I'd play them. And I think that's the problem with third-party ones, is they don't have that pomp and circumstance about them that really draws your interest in. I'm just looking at Unknown 9 Awakening, and it looks like Assassin's Creed meets Banishes, which I'm currently playing, where you play as Haruna running around, and essentially it looks like a Middle East, like Egypt, Cairo kind of setting, Morocco maybe. And then you have these powers which seemingly can push spirits out of people, and you control and possess them. Very much looks like the climbing around parkour is Assassin's Creed, but then there's just something about it which is it's not quite polished enough to bring me in. And I don't know about you. I don't know about you two, but the 9 in the name is bugging me.
It's just intimidating, isn't it?
Yeah, it stands out. I don't like it from a visual point of view. Like the Altars logo, I'm so particular when it comes to these things. Yeah, but just call it Unknown Awakening. Right. Why 9?
Can I just remind you, Chris, of a little franchise called Alan Wake, and we used to take the piss out of it.
Yeah.
I am with 9. Then you probably wouldn't have played it.
The name Unknown 9 Awakening makes it sound very generic right off the bat. So it's
just none of it pairs, right? Unknown 9 Awakening. None of it means if you said those 3 words to anyone, what is this about? They couldn't tell you if it was a game, a movie, an index code for a barcode shop or something.
It might make sense when you play the game, but I think a title needs to probably make sense outside of the game as well a bit.
Yeah, it looks cool though.
It does look cool. It looks like they're doing some interesting stuff with the combat as well. This looks like some time stop and teleportation-y stuff. So
very very Banishes, like I said, expelling the soul from the body and fighting them on an ethereal front. That looks like it.
So I think this is one to keep an eye on, because the combat looks a bit different, a bit unique. So it doesn't just look like a standard action fantasy RPG, and there's also guns as well. So it's quite a few different things going on, but I think this looks quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rob, we've got time for a few more.
Honestly, those are the ones that have caught out to me. For me, there's lots of again towards the back end of that list you read off. There's lots of ones which they look fine as a concept, but I just can't see myself investing any time into them. So I
think there's a lot of
Frostpunk.
There's a lot of very good games here, I think, but not quite stepping into the great territory.
This is the thing. We talked about this a lot of times, where for me a good game isn't enough anymore. Maybe it's just because we're in our 30s and we have a bit of stuff going on.
Time and money.
Right. Yeah, but I'm really curious to like who the audience for these games are. To be honest, if that sounds strange, like I don't know who plays these types of like very small indie titles.
Well, some of these aren't small titles. Some of these are AAA experiences, but they just don't seem to have the same level of polish as you'd expect from, say, a Sony first party. They're just that one rung down, and I bet you they're really fun to play. But as you said, with like time and money, you almost want to show a hit rather than be willing to take a chance, especially when games are like £60, £70 nowadays.
Yeah, it's just like everything, isn't it? You're looking for that finished product.
Yeah,
and it's the same with like Netflix. Now. Yeah, it's the same with like you look at Netflix and stuff. There's so much crap on Netflix and Amazon and stuff that you just skim over because you look at the banner art, you look at the name, you look at the cast, and you just kind of go, it just looks like an absolute shit movie or like an average movie, and it's not worth your time when you could go watch one of the big hitters.
Sometimes it just feels like just more stuff.
Yeah, more stuff for the sake of it.
But there again, Chris, you mentioned you're playing Banishers. I think that's almost fallen into the same category, but you seem to be having a good time with it.
Yeah, and again, all of these games, I know. I mean, we've just seen from all the retro games we've just been talking about, like, the graphics don't mean anything. It's gameplay is king. And if these have great gameplay, like the other one that's in here is Tales of Kenzara Zhao. That was the one that happened at the Game Awards where the guy who played who voiced Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins, he's making a game about the passing of his father in real life. And it looks essentially like it's going to take the same kind of vein that the Black Panther did, where it takes all the heritage of like African history and everything, puts it into a Metroidvania similar to the latest Prince of Persia we just got, but you have like powers from within like the African mythology. That's essentially, it's never had Western eyes on it, essentially, like Black Panther, and then you saw like the way that culture just went boom and exploded. So if this game's anywhere near as good as the latest Prince of Persia, but has that kind of cultural backing, this could be a huge sleeper hit as well. Yeah,
I think actually I'm not huge on my like 2D side scroll Metroidvania style stuff, but I can respect them for what they are. I think this looks really good.
Yeah, so colourful, pretty, and Metroidvanias have had like such a resurgence over the years, but we've seen this year with Prince of Persia, it's like the audience is there for it, because that's one of Ubisoft's hits right off the bat, which is a rare thing for Ubisoft. So if this comes anywhere near or betters it, looking forward to it. Out on the
23rd of April, so you won't have long to wait. Last one before we get into some classics, some more classic games, is Kinitsugami Path of the Goddess. I think we saw this at was it Game Awards or something last year?
Yeah, we didn't really know what it was.
I still don't fully understand what it is. But it's the one based on Japanese folklore and mythology. It takes you with battling deadly beasts and rebuilding a village. Kinitsugami Path of the Goddess will be released in 2024 on Xbox Series XS and will be on Game Pass. So it's from Capcom. It's the from Game Pass thing that gets me interested, to be honest. Because that's the thing sometimes. These games that kind of don't feel quite like a sure hit that, this is a must. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was a must play for me. These games in that tier below where it's like, if it's on Game Pass, I'd be more inclined to give it a shot if I'm not currently playing anything else at the time.
Yeah, the next rung down really needs to fight for your attention, doesn't it?
It really does. It needs to fight hard.
You get your big wins on the AAA stuff that's got marketing behind it, AAA graphics, budget, everything like that, like cast list, developers behind it, and then the next run down, you really have to do something to stand out. Because then I'd say indies almost have it easier. Yeah, because they sit in like another rung, like not below subjective, but you know what I mean.
But they're sitting in a lower price bracket, so you're more. If a game's £30 versus £70, you're more inclined to take a risk.
True, like Helldivers.
Yeah.
Look at that success.
Yeah, honestly, I think part of the success of Helldivers, one, it's an incredible game by all accounts, but the price of it means I think more people are willing to give it a go right off the bat.
Absolutely.
It's less of an investment. But let's move on, because I'm sure you guys are going to be happy, and I know, Chris, you've already indulged. We have 9 EA Classics coming to Steam this week, including Command & Conquer, SimCity, and Populous, and quite a few more. And a lot of them are on sale, some of them as far as low as £2, I've seen.
Yeah.
What a bargain, right?
Where should we start, Rob? This is our bag, this one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously let's start with Command and Conquer. Now,
Yeah.
this isn't particularly new for me because I've had this game from EA Play for a couple of years now because I wanted to play Command and Conquer 2, I think it was. And this was the only way you could actually get it, I think, to the Ultimate Collection. So I've been hammering that for quite a while now, to a great degree. Actually, I have a new appreciation for Red Alert 3. Oh. When it first came out, I hated it. I hated the color style. I hated the fake Tanya who didn't
not
like
our
that.
Tanya.
No, not our Tanya. We want the chick from Eight-Legged Freaks.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah. So I've been playing Command and Conquer Ultimate Edition for a while. I also have the Populous games again from EA Play. The only one I haven't got from this list, which I do want to play, is SimCity 3000, which I think I'm going to indulge very, very soon. But
Indulge? It's £1.71, Rob. It's not much of an indulgence.
Indulge in time. Because
Things are tight.
You can't even get a Freddo for that.
Time-wise, SimCity 3000, when it first came out, God, that took countless hours away from my life. And I think it was I think it was the best of the series, to be honest. Or maybe that's just because I grew up with it. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, there's a certain nostalgia to them all, but Command and Conquer for me exactly the same. We should say, I know you said 9 games coming, Richie, but realistically, the Command and Conquer collection is 17 alone.
Yeah.
So it's filling it up.
I'll read through the 9 games, as I call it. So it's Command and Conquer: The Ultimate Edition, SimCity 3000 Unlimited, Populous 2, Trials of the Olympic Gods, Populous The Beginning, Dungeon Keeper Gold, Dungeon Keeper 2, Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri Planetary Pack, and The Saboteur.
What a list.
Yeah.
What a list. And they're all on sale as well.
Yeah. Dungeon Keeper 2, that game is incredible. They try to bring it back as a mobile game and they just microtransaction the hell out of it, but...
Well, yeah.
Both of you either played Dungeon Keeper?
No.
Oh, it's great. So, it's a real-time strategy, but instead of, having an open map where you build your bases on top of the map, you're basically in a mine, and you have to get your minions to carve out the bedrock to build rooms, and then you set up rooms for different functions. Nice. But you can also possess your creatures and go first person and explore your dungeon.
That sounds cool. Everything on this list seems like it would have something that would appeal to me.
Yeah.
Just from a nostalgic standpoint.
Did any of you play the Saboteur?
No.
I feel like I have briefly, but I can't remember it.
The memory I have of this game is from when I used to work in a game shop, and there was 30 copies of it pre-owned, at any point in time. But I think there was a documentary about it on I don't know how to pronounce it. It was GVM's YouTube channel who did a documentary on the Saboteur, and they said it was a real tragedy that it hadn't got the pickup it wanted, so I think I'm going to have a look into that as well.
Was it Sniper Elite? Where you're a solo guy taking down targets, essentially, in Paris?
Yeah,
or
it's
in
an
a
alternate,
city of some sort.
It's an alternate history thing.
So I'll read the blurb. This open-world action thriller takes you through the seedy streets of Paris as you seek to undermine the German authority and lead a rebellion, fight across rooftops and through dangerous alleyways, and operate a wide variety of vehicles as you navigate your terrain.
Oh, so it's not alternate history then. It's very much history accurate. But no, I just remember it there was lots of copies of it, and it always intrigued me because it had quite interesting cover art.
I'm not surprised. The Saboteur was the final game for Pandemic Studios before they were closed by EA as well. R.I.P. Brought us other classics such as The Lord of the Rings Conquest, Destroy All Humans, but more importantly, Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 was developed by Pandemic. Damn. So these guys were legends, and somehow the Saboteur was their Achilles heel that brought down the studio. But shout out to Battlefront, because that comes out this week, the collection as well.
Yeah,
so talking about more retro games. But yeah, you're completely right, Richie. I dug deep, unlike Rob, for the grand total of £9.98 or something it came to. I got the full Command and Conquer collection, and yeah, I think I'll be dipping my toes into it. I don't know where to start though, because I'm my brain's telling me Red Alert 2 and Yuri's Revenge.
Oh yeah.
then I'm looking at these others and I'm like, you know what? I never really played 3 or 4, the Tiberian Wars, like not the reboot ones. I think you know what you were saying about 3 in the past. I think I got to Generals, and Generals just put me right off because of the art style and the way they changed the map.
It was really different.
Totally ruined it for me, and I never played it again. I remember going back to Tiberian Sun when I found Wilkinson's used to have the racks, the circular racks that used to have the cheaper
like
games.
The white and gold.
Yeah, exactly. I got Tiberian Sun after, when as a daft kid you didn't realise there was other games in the series, and it was also I just thought Red Alert 2 was like a standalone game somehow, even though it had a 2 in the name. Yeah. And then seeing Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun was like, holy shit, there's like a whole different universe on a different time scale, and jumped into that one. But yeah, all of these, something to play. But I have fond memories of Populous as well, like yourself, Rob. I actually think that was probably the first game you lent to me on PlayStation 1. Like, actually borrowed it and took it home and played it. And it's... I haven't played the other ones, but yeah, for Populous, for those who don't know, essentially you play as like a god character. You have like your villages, like similar to Age of Empires. You start off, you get your shaman, you get your priest, and you get your woodcutters who go out. But it's very, I'd say, a small scale. Like the starting island can be no bigger than like, 50 square foot or something.
Oh, it's tiny, yeah. I made a mistake on this game, though, because I bought... So my memory is I had Populous, like, on PlayStation. So I bought Populous, like, we're talking a while ago now, on EA Play. But turns out it was Populous the beginning, which is the first, like, experience I had of the franchise. So, like, I went into Populous, and it was a completely different game from what the beginning was. So I was really confused then. So then I bought the beginning, which is what I remember from PlayStation.
Yeah.
And then I just bought the second one because, well, why not? It's like an initial £2.
I think the beginning's a grand strategy rather than just a turn-based strategy, isn't it?
Well, reading from it, feel the divine power. With Populous, the God Sim was created, and millions of gamers were converted. Earn your immortality by taming wild men and training tribesmen in stunningly beautiful worlds. Wield your earth-shattering powers to wreak havoc and hold them under your command. Because, you could send tornadoes and stuff to rival tribes.
Yeah, like bees and stuff, couldn't you? Like, you could summon loads of bees to, like, disrupt people.
Yeah. $16.99 this was bought, apparently, for Bullfrog Games.
Bullfrog did, I think they did Dungeon Keeper as well.
They did the Hospital as well.
Yeah. That's why it's in this list, then.
Yeah.
Look at the size of that guide. It's like a novel.
My one thing that I think your mileage may vary on is the support for these games in modern PC hardware. I assume since they're new that to the Steam store they should work, but all games don't always. So just
yeah. Red Alert 2 was it took a while to for it to handle like the ultra wide monitor. It just because my monitor is like wider than the map is in pixels for like a lot of those games.
Yeah.
All right, I'm reading from the Steam store for Populous here, and under system requirements is a caveat. The OS minimum and recommended is XP or Vista, but it does state starting January the 1st, 2024, the Steam client will only support Windows 10 and later versions. It's not outright saying these games will work on 10 and 11, but I think it's strongly inferred that they will.
No, is it saying the opposite?
No, that's the Steam client. Will only work on them, so you couldn't install the Steam client on Windows 7 anymore, or XP.
Yeah, okay, yeah, got you.
So it'd be kind of weird to add games that were only functional on XP and Vista onto a platform that is not functional XP or Vista.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Does it also explain that it'll take up 15 blocks on your memory card?
15 blocks?
15 blocks?
Or it might need 15 blocks. I'm not
insane.
sure.
Do you know what the install...
compatible.
Do you know what the size of the install is on PC? Take a guess. Take a guess.
453 megabytes.
Rob?
I'm going to say like 600.
Megabytes.
Yeah, obviously.
So this is Populous 1. 16.
Yeah. What?
16 megabytes.
I can fit that on a PS2 memory card. The whole game.
I think a photo on like a PC is less than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, your ultra-wide monitor would not like that game.
I know. It cost you £2 as well. So there you go. So you got
no... It'd be too small to uninstall properly. Like, Windows just wouldn't recognise it as a thing.
It's Windows. Like, why? What's this? It's too small. This can't be real.
This must be a fragment of something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will
Every
say
time you
though,
defrag it, just deletes it.
I do love how these games are almost like immortalized now, because I think like probably all of us in our generation, I had this fear that we know when we moved from disc, and like PCs especially stopped having disc drives. I was thinking like, how can I play like Roller Coaster Tycoon? And then before Steam really became a thing, or digital sales were really a thing, if you like lost your disc or you didn't have a disc drive, like in my mind I was like, I can't play Command and Conquer, Roller Coaster Tycoon, like all these classic beloved games ever again. Now that's why I've held onto the disc. I had a portable CD drive for one of my laptops for the longest of times. Yeah. I downloaded a few allegedly from places that you shouldn't be getting games, and then now it's like they're all here and you can get the entire collection and more for like less than a tenner. It's the game preservation. Steam, I think, has to be up there with the best in the industry for it.
Yeah. Definitely. I'd also want to shout out Good Old Games as well, or GOG.com. Because if you're looking for an old game, this is where GOG literally got the start. They basically do DRM-free versions of games, so you might not get everything there. It really depends on the publisher if they're willing to let it. But a lot of old games you can get on GOG, so it's just worth knowing. So anyway, shall we move on?
Yes.
Final Fantasy. Is its popularity failing? Sales not being amazing for Rebirth.
I mean, I guess I can take. Yeah. I'll take the blame here because
it's your fault.
Like, I love Final Fantasy VII, and
not enough to buy it.
Yeah, exactly, and I can't explain why.
I'm going to put my hand up here and go, I also haven't bought the game.
Oh, you just piggybacking it. You sharing games, PlayStation.
I am absolutely sharing. Yeah, I'm playing on my girlfriend's copy.
Yeah, but I don't know why. Like, I haven't. I don't know. Maybe like I missed it. Like, played a tiny bit of the first one and then didn't kind of put the time into it, and now this has came along, and I don't see a strong reason for me not just to wait until I can play the full thing. I don't know if it's like the time intervals between them or something. I don't know. I'm just not following this like I should do for a Final Fantasy set.
I know where you're coming from, because you played the first one to death, the original Final Fantasy VII. But that's one game. This is designed as 3 separate games that tell a full. Each of them will tell a complete story that adds together. You could always see them like
marketed like that.
They've been trying to. I don't think they've managed. They did have a bit of a shout out like for Rebirth, and it's like, oh, if you haven't played the first one, don't worry, because there's like a recap. But it's still it's like you wouldn't start a TV show at season 2.
This is the thing. Like, lots of like Japanese titles, I feel, fall into this trap where like they overcomplicate the kind of conventions of like naming, and like the series, like it gets like super complicated. Like the Yakuza games one, like I don't know if it's a tiny bit of that. I don't know if that's true with this, because I think 7 Remake and 7 Rebirth, you know which one's first, which one's second. I do think that this is effectively season 2 of a TV show in some ways, and if you haven't watched season 1, you're not going to watch this, which means that you're limiting your pool of people who are going to buy it to the people who've already played the first game. Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, do we know? So, week on week, they're down, or week on week comparatively, they're down 30% on the previous entry?
Yeah.
Is that what we're seeing in the UK physical chart? So, there's like digital media is one thing, so the numbers aren't ever going to be accurate from a public standpoint.
That 30% could just be purely people aren't buying physical boxes anymore.
Yeah.
And this is UK only as well, so.
Didn't this come out like, I feel like it was pandemic time this game came out.
Yes.
And if my job's taught me anything, it's that like that massive inflation of digital sales, like just it's corrected itself now.
I've said on the podcast, like my mortgages went up by 150 quid since this time last year.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at the UK, the cost of living stuff that's going on in this country is going to be a big player in what is a £70 game. It's a luxury that a lot of people might not be able to afford when they've got tons of other stuff to pay for.
Yeah, true.
So,
I think there's lots. I don't think it's anything to talk about the quality of the game. I think it's just
quality is up there. Like all the reviews, both from players and critics, are just this is at the moment odd-on game of the year.
Is there from your perspective, from the two people who've played it, is there like a fatigue element where maybe they're stretching this out too much? So people are like, right, I love the game. I love 7. As a child, I played so much of it. It's like I waited so long for remake. It did everything I wanted to do, and then now they're hearing this is like 100+ hours, and there's another one to come. They're like, I remember when it was just one game. Yeah. And now you tell me I have to wait over a decade to play it, and
the interval's the killer for me. I think like the great thing about like Final Fantasy 7 is it sucks you in, like the original. Sorry, like it sucked you into the world, and like I got to a point where I played this game so much that when I dreamt of like me, I dreamt in that isometric like movement type of thing, and I just don't get sucked in the same way over 3 games.
I almost feel, it could be a bit of that, and we had 16 last year as well, so there could be a bit of like people have played 16 and are looking to play something else rather than Final Fantasy 7. And because this is the middle chapter of a trilogy of games, there probably isn't that with remake. You probably had that, oh my god, it's happening! I cannot wait to get my hands on it. And now it's like, well, I will get to this when I get to it. As long as I play this before the final game, whatever it's going to be called, read something or other, probably.
Return.
It could just be like the sales curve might just be a bit shallower, but go for longer, so it doesn't plateau. It might just be one of them. The nature of like the release and it being a middle chapter is like,
there's so many factors that you can't really account for. Like you said, the COVID, the time of year it's been released, the state of the global economy. Like again, other releases that are coming out in and around it. Like there is an element of just Helldivers, PlayStation exclusive. I know we keep going back to it as a joke, but like genuinely, that game has the entire planet. Like singing its praises, and then if you're kind of knee deep in that, you kind of like, I'll just wait for the price to drop on Rebirth, and I'll pick it up a little bit later.
It could also be worth pointing out that remake is on PlayStation Plus. A lot of people might be looking at it and going, oh, Rebirth. If remake's on PlayStation Plus, it's inevitable that Rebirth will probably come to PlayStation Plus eventually. And if you don't feel the need to buy it immediately. My advice...
It's not like you can finish the story, is it?
Yeah, well, this is it. My advice would be, if you don't feel the need to buy this game immediately and you've got other stuff to play, hold out, because I would expect this to come to PlayStation Plus eventually.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even Xbox.
Yeah. So I would be advising you to not buy the game. Even though you should play it, Rob.
They've split a remake title into 3 games, so like, you know, even like a lag in sales on one game, they're still like cashing in pretty hard on the franchise, right?
Yeah. I hope Square don't panic. That's one caveat. I hope they don't look at the sales numbers and panic and start trying to pivot and to make sure like the third game is more profitable by adding other bullshit in. Just stay the course. Like I think.
Imagine a world where Square, because we've talked about Square's restructuring a lot of times. Remember, they sold off Tomb Raider and they got rid of 2 of their best studios, arguably, in this restructuring thing. Imagine if you guys just never got the third entry.
I won't care because I haven't played the other 2 yet, so
it'll never happen. But it's interesting because Square will do what Square do, where they'll say we're really happy with the sales, and then the next week some of their leadership team will come and go, we're really disappointed with the sales, like they did with 16. And sales are only up 6% over Final Fantasy 16. So from a brand new entry in the series, this is, like you said, a middle chapter of a 3-parter, and it's only 6% better. I don't think Square leadership board and stuff will be happy with that increase.
Was this
6%.
So this is selling
sales
better
are
than
up
16.
6%. Yeah, but only by 6% for.
Yeah, but
16 was an unknown quantity. Remember, this is the middle of arguably their best game.
Yeah, but
ever.
16 looked incredible and was an easy jumping on point for new players. 16 is a lot more approachable, I think, than this, because this is the middle chapter. So the fact that this is beating 16 in sales, I think, means more than how far it is behind remake.
But it's Final Fantasy 7 though, like. It plays by its own rules. You can't like.
So, what would sell better then? A brand new Star Wars movie, or Empire Strikes Back remake?
Empire easy.
It's the middle of a beloved chapter. against a brand new unknown Star Wars quantity.
Yeah, you're right there. But
6% more?
I think this could be I think what we've largely been discussing here is I think you can make too much of these numbers right now. I think you need to look at it in the long term for this game rather than the short term.
Yeah. The funniest stat, not funniest stat, but the one Hjorvar, who's in our Discord, who's one of our guild heroes, was talking quite extensively about it, the franchise and the sales figures. And it really highlighted to me the figures that they put out. They always scrape the barrel for like the most specific statistic to sound good. Mm-hmm. And it was like Final Fantasy Remake sold X amount over 3 days, but 16 sold really well over a week. But then Rebirth is only selling this over 2 days. It's like, hang on a minute, you're comparing 3 days to 4 days to a week in the opening weekend, and it's like they're not comparable because they're all unique.
It's one of them when you're giving funny. Like the pitching the numbers to like a shareholder investment thing. You're going to use as much like obscure data as possible, so that all the shareholders sat there going, I don't know what's going on, but the graphs are pointing upwards, so that means I'm making more money.
This is the best game to release in the games industry this year with Final Fantasy in the name so far on a Friday.
See, this is making me sweat because this is what I do at work every single day. It's like, oh, this isn't looking so good. Let's find something pointing up and then just show people that.
Right. Let's move on because I know you want to. Chris, Rob, is the Helldivers devs getting bought by Sony?
They should. But I feel Sony are probably looking at the bank book now and going, we should have bought them a year ago. Not now.
Like they needed the hype to die down, don't they?
I mean, from a business lens, Rob, would you think if you were Sony and you've seen like early work, like remember they've worked with Helldivers before, Arrowhead, they don't work on any of the titles. This is being made exclusively for PlayStation. So you've got to imagine they've got a good contract and a good relationship. Mm-hmm. Is there a clause somewhere in there that if this game sells so much, Sony have first rights on like buying, like, you know, like a release clause in a sport, in an athlete's contract? If like, you know what, if you do X amount of sales or X amount of profitability, we get the right to acquire you for a reduced amount. Like, do you think that comes into play at all when they're dealing these second-party games, or is this just a pie in the sky?
That's like a really bad deal for the studio.
Yeah,
it's like the stock market, right? Like you don't buy a game like developer when like they're at the height of their success because they'll cost too much. You wait till they've like
failed.
Essentially, yeah. Wait till they've like threw a few like really shitty balls, and then like you scoop them up at that time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think the Helldivers crew are safe for now.
Yeah, I mean can
I just point out on the tweet that the CEO of Helldivers said, "This is fake unless I've missed something." Also, a really shitty old logo from 2008. So when we just started the studio, I just saw it. I thought funny.
It is a really shitty logo, but yeah, he's already update to the whole story. Yeah, he's already came out and said, yeah, it's totally fake. It's all rumors. Not to say it's not happening behind the scenes, because you've got to imagine Sony are like, this is our big win for a live service game. I think Helldivers, from the phenomenon it's been.
Can they buy a studio while they're also cutting staff in other studios in some of the big players like Naughty Dog and Guerrilla?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and Insomniac.
100%, yeah.
Because this is making money hand over fist right now.
Yeah.
So
it's like cutting your shit players on a football team whilst giving the other guys pay.
Your shit players, Naughty Dog, Insomniac. Like it's not.
Well, I mean, they're still elite stars, but they're not bringing in the shirt sales right now. So got to get this one. But I mean, I could totally see it. Sony are notorious in the past for having second party relationships. Just look at Housemarque. Housemarque made 3-4 games for Sony, and then they put a ring on it finally, and we got Returnal. As soon as Returnal launched, it was like a month or two later, they announced, they're all part of the Sony family now. I could see the same for Arrowhead. Helldivers has done so damn well. I could see by the summer we get an announcement saying, welcome to the PlayStation Studios family, and they will simply support Helldivers for the next decade.
Yeah.
It depends on the ownership structure, I think, of Arrowhead. If it's privately owned, they could literally just go, no.
Yeah.
And there's nothing Sony could do. Just, no, we're not even going to talk to you about it.
But if you were the CEO, I'd cash out right now. I'd be like, it's arguably like the second biggest game, the biggest game the studio's ever made. He could take one hell of a paycheck and just go make another new studio.
That's one thing I would definitely consider. Go, look, I'm happy assume like the CEO owns the business outright. And there's no shareholders or partners and stuff. It's private. It's a private limited company. He owns 100%. And Sony company, I'll be like, right, what I want is a guarantee that no layoffs from my team for the next, however, maybe 5-10 years. a decent, substantial bonus for every member of the team, and a big bag of fucking cash, and I keep my job.
Yeah, I mean, that's how most of these things would happen.
Yeah, like, basically, give all my guys who made the studio a big bag of cash, me a bag of cash, and we all keep going as is.
Yeah, I mean, how many people are on the team? It's still
100.
But bigger now, isn't it? But
100.
still, it's like relatively small.
They are all super rich. If they're like bonuses come into play, which usual game dev bonuses play into like sales and turnover, like they're all in for one hell of a windfall come whenever bonus hits for this crew. Yeah. And congratulations to them because they've done it.
Yeah.
And it's only getting bigger based on this week's news as well. Because we did it, Rob.
What did we do?
The side news is there's a new war bond coming. So PlayStation put out a blog this week saying that there's new war bonds coming. So we're going to get new cosmetics, new weapons, new prototype things. There's a EX prototype light gun. Don't know what it really means, but it has a shocking 400,000 volts attached to it. So some kind of like laser gun. There's a bunch of other ones, but I won't get into the weapons because that's like in the minutiae.
Can I just say, like the new armor cosmetics look suspiciously like the Warhammer 40k race.
Yeah.
What were they called again? Like the Tau or something.
Yeah,
like it looks suspiciously similar to that.
Flappy fabric bits on.
Inspired by, Rob. It's inspired by.
Okay,
yeah, they haven't quite got the licensing contracts down, which inevitably will come for skins because like I think by Christmas time. There's got to be like crossover with like different franchises.
By this time next year, this game will be in Fortnite or Roblox or some shit like that.
Maybe not that far. Helldivers is way too cool for messing around with that kind of shit. But in terms of the social media team put out a tweet this week saying this is not a drill. Mech production has been halted and you need to go right now to the planet of Tain Quan and liberate it because the mechs are trying to steal the technology, the human technology for themselves, the automatons. And literally within less than a day, the humanity liberated what I'm guessing the devs were putting up and hoping was going to be like a week-long campaign. And everyone was like, no, we want mechs in this game. And they've done it already. So mechs are available in the game. They're unlocked for use for all players now. You can buy them as a stratagem drop, use it twice within a level. Rob, I'm going to throw it over to you because you actually managed to play as a mech before we liberated the factory.
This is actually new news for me. I didn't know they were on.
Yeah, we've done it. We've done it.
Yeah, hooray! We've done it. We've saved the rec centre. But yeah, I got I think an early access version of it by some regards. It just popped up as I was just like running along the battlefield, and then suddenly, do you like the containers which you break open?
Yeah.
To get supplies and stuff. Like, I did that, and then there was just one next to it, and I was like, okay, what's this? And then, got in it, had no idea what to do, and it was destroyed by a charger in about 10 seconds. But
you got your taste, though.
For that brief amount of time, I had like the, I think there's a couple of different variants, and I had the Gatling gun and like rocket pod version. Okay. But immediately lost the rocket pod to the charger, and then destroyed the rest of it. So it was a really fun 10 seconds.
Yeah, and this is kind of what my hope is for the game, because the mechs were in the first game. Like the way me and my brother used to play was one of us would have the mech as a stratagem. We'd call it in, and it would basically be the mech would basically be a bodyguard for the other just fellow Helldiver, because it had such power and defensive capabilities. It was just slow. That was the only downside to it. Yeah. But in this like 3D third person world we're living in, when you're going up against these big bugs and you're kind of like getting overwhelmed and stuff, calling in a mech is like the ultimate cool thing to do. Oh, yeah. Boosh, jump onto it. You've got infinite extra firepower just to kind of thin the head. And I can't wait. I'm all over this week of like just finding it out, playing the mechs, and it's just what more cool things could they add?
Yeah. One other good thing I do want to credit the team with doing as well is they recently put like a new patch out to like rebalance some weapons and kind of put a bit more balance into the game. And they've actively looked at what the current meta is, like, which was like the railgun, the shield generator, and like the breaker shotgun. And they've purposely like weakened all those weapons to the point where like there's like different metas now. So like it's not just like this one build which like is like the universal best or whatever. And I think that's really good, because if there's nothing I hate more in games, it's like the pure hardcore min maxes. Like there was people getting kicked from games because they weren't running like the meta, and it's like, oh well, you'll not like contribute equally. So
I hate that shit.
Yeah, and like there's
fucking
like really
nerds.
there's really like hardcore players who are freaking out about it and saying, "Oh, like they should have like brought all of it."
That's the stuff that turns communities toxic.
Yeah, so
because it stops being about fun and starts being about spreadsheets.
Yeah, so I'm really, really happy that the devs are like actively trying to balance things out in a good way like that.
Yeah.
So again, more credit to them.
Yeah, the head guy again, who's been fantastic on Twitter, basically said like they've nerfed them, but he wants to keep the game dynamic and he wants Helldivers to be on their toes because it was like no two scenarios are alike. And yeah, weapons can malfunction, weapons can change, and it was just like, it's what we're going to do to keep the game ticking over and feeling vibrant and different. Because, like you said, you don't want just one layer. You don't want to have 50 different weapons at your disposal and everyone just run with an assault rifle for everything. Like, that's not fun. You want them to try out the new stuff and engage with it. But yeah, again, just phenomenon continues. Everyone I know who's playing it is absolutely loving it still. It's just going to be one of them games that sits on my dashboard and I just chip away. I was saying to Richie actually on this week's live stream when we were playing Gears of War, I bought the book as well, the Starship Troopers book.
It's really good. Yeah.
I'd never read it before, but I didn't realise like how old it is. It was published in 1959 originally, and I was saying to Richie how like a lot of the stuff in it is very indicative of kind of today's society. And how it kind of leans into just, I guess, the worst parts of capitalism and society and the youth of today and what could happen to the world in like another 1,000-odd years without the interference of bugs and stuff and conscription and be doing your part for democracy, ironically, and stuff like that. But different things that weren't in the movie that I didn't know about. So I'm intrigued to get into kind of the deeper meanings of it. But this guy out here writing amazing sci-fi, Robert, is it Heinlein? Mm-hmm. Back in the 50s, before NASA was even really a thing, he was coming up with like things. Essentially, he was one of the godfathers of
like the first wave of sci-fi,
modern sci-fi, and it's like I feel like the guy clearly doesn't get enough recognition alongside a bunch of other folks. But yeah, gonna read through that. It only looks like a small book, so I'll enjoy it and read it. I think the opening line, Rob, you'll know this one. The book literally opens with "Come on, you apes, you wanna live forever," quoted by unknown platoon sergeant in 1918.
Yeah. But we all know who it was. It was Ratchek.
Yeah. So Michael Ironside.
Are you satisfied with indulging in your Helldivers too?
Yeah, I'll take another half an hour next week. But
okay, you can have it next week. We can deal with that. Moving on to Warner Brothers. So, Suicide Squad was a bit of a flop. I think. Safe to be said.
It didn't live up to it. What was the phrase they used? It didn't live up to expectations or something.
Hogwarts Legacy, like, just completely blew out the water. So which game style are you double downing on, Rob? Take your pick. You're the CEO of WB. You've got these two big games. One of them does well. One of them is a flop. Which one do you go with? Both with strong IP behind them as well.
I mean, I feel like the ideal scenario in this guy's head was, why the fuck didn't we make Hogwarts Legacy a games as a service? Like,
absolutely.
That's the thing, isn't it?
It's insane what he's saying. It's like, oh yeah, Hogwarts Legacy did great. How do we make that more like Suicide Squad, which did terribly?
I don't know. Like, there's different distinctions to be made on this. Like, I know, like, everyone's like, it is insane the way he's worded it, but I can kind of see like some tiny acorn of logic in his head. Like, I can see. I think that the trouble with like Suicide Squad is like it was just a shit game. Just and Hogwarts Legacy was, despite its depth and its lacking in some areas, did certain elements really, really well.
But I think it also got praised by how it it respected the player. To be honest, it's like, here's the game, go enjoy. It didn't feel like this is a platform to try and steal your wallet.
True, but I still think Hogwarts would have done well as like the games as a service.
Yeah, I think for context as well, this was JB Perrette, who's the gaming division boss over at Warner Brothers, and it was said it was like a shareholders business thing for, I forgot the name of the company, but it's basically like all investors and it's basically a bunch of billionaire businessmen, no doubt talking at a business conference. So he wasn't addressing gamers, he was addressing like fellow shareholders and business people and saying about like what their intentions were. And I think he flippantly said something like, the success of Harry Potter, we want to lean into that IP and monetize it, essentially, which if you're talking with business people, that's the language you've probably got to use. So I do think this is exaggerated to some degree. But when you put it in the context of, bad game, good game, let's take bad game and take good game and swap them round in some weird way. I do believe Hogwarts Legacy was going to be monetized at some point, because if you remember when you made the potions, the concoctions, there was that weird time limit where you had to wait 20 seconds for a healing potion or a herb to make, and it was like, that didn't fit with any of the rest of the game. Like, why do I have to just loiter around in this laboratory?
That feels like the devs probably fought to get it taken out.
Yeah, that would have been a moment of like, you can pay £10 of, I don't know, Hogwarts coins and get it quicker, and people would have done it. People would have done it. So it's like I said, the restraint of the way the devs maybe fought back, or early impressions. Because I do remember reading articles of going like, is this the microtransaction element for this game? Mm-hmm. Ooh, if you want to look after your pets in your little secret hidey hole place a little bit better, like they can be looked after automatically by paying $4.99 for Hogwarts coins. And like,
if it was the pets, like my girlfriend would have rinsed our joint account so much. It would have been like tragic when I looked at the estate.
What happened? They needed feeding, Rob. They needed feeding.
I just think sometimes like business people in gaming are completely detached from what gamers are actually buying. Helldivers is doing really well, but it's been praised for how it's been monetized.
Yeah.
And that I don't get the same confidence that WB would do that, because every time it's got shades of Shadow of War about this, where they try to monetize certain things, put microtransactions in, and effectively kill the franchise.
I think it's down to how the quality of the game, though. I think...
well, that's my point. Really, is like the focus seems to be from WB at certain points about the business, not the quality of the product. But when they focus on the quality of the product, like they did with Hogwarts Legacy, it sells well.
Yeah, but I think there's like
they think about the bank balance and not their audience. Sometimes they need to think a bit more about the audience and not what their audience wants from them, and not just how they can get money out of them.
But again, I think if Suicide Squad was a really, really good game with microtransactions, like they'd have done well. The trouble is, I think Warner Brothers. I don't even rate Hogwarts Legacy as a great game. It was aesthetically beautiful and it did well commercially. I think on the back of the Hogwarts, on the back of Harry Potter.
I think the strength of it is how well they integrate the IP into a solid game. Yeah,
true, but I still wouldn't. Given like Warner Bros. Like track record at the moment, I wouldn't put Hogwarts Legacy in like the great game category.
For them, it is.
Oh yeah, but like, but I wouldn't put it in in that category. It was a better than average game.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the IP attached to it, I don't think it would be.
I just feel like the way the statement's worded is they haven't learned the right lessons from Hogwarts Legacy. I think they could make a good games as a service using the IP, but they seem to be more focused on the games as a service and not making a good game. Like, how do we monetize rather than making a good game, than thinking about how we monetize?
Just wait till we get that Quidditch game that's coming out.
Oh, there'll be some premium brooms in there, won't there?
Get Suicide Squad skins in Quidditch.
Like a Nimbus 50,000 for $5.99.
Even Matt Piscatella, who used to work at WB, is like calling them out on it.
Yeah. I mean, WB aren't in my good books anyway, because they shut down Roosterteeth this week.
They did, it was another move.
Which was like, I don't know how I got big into the Let's Plays at one point in life. And to see them shut down is a bit like a sad element of game history that's gone now.
20 years, right? They were one of the first kind of original, independent content creators for gaming. Because
they did Red versus Blue, and I remember seeing that. Like, I watched it on the internet when it obviously first got released, and then I saw it on DVD. And it's like, I can't remember what shop it was in now, but I was like, whoa, this is the internet in real life. This has never happened before, type of thing.
There were Newgrounds it was hosted on.
I think it might have been grew out of Newgrounds, but it became like Newgrounds and then like things like YouTube. But they managed to build their own thing on the back of it, and it's just a shame to see something like that go.
Yeah,
like I haven't read into that story. What reasons were given? Was it just
it's not been profitable for like 9 years or something?
Yeah, because they had their like original popular crew, like who did like Achievement Hunter, and then a couple of them left, and there was like a big scandal about another guy, and then it just kind of like got weaker and weaker. They decided to shutter it this week.
It's a shame, but if you haven't been profitable for 9 years, to be honest, you've had a state of execution for quite a while there.
It kind of talks on the how gaming content has changed on the internet, because those like let's play videos, they like kind of pioneered that, and I won't say rode the wave because they made the wave in lots of ways, but now like, obviously everyone's moved over to Twitch and stuff like that, and it's got different now.
It's content, like, again, we as a small YouTube channel, like, we struggle with that growth element as well. Like, I think they had exponential growth initially, and then, like I said, they outgrew, but then when the original kind of the old guard leaves,
people
get that weird...
The long-term fans stop watching. Some of the long-term fans stopped watching. They struggle to get new people in, as new people went over different creators or covered different games. And
like at one point they moved into like an aircraft hangar for their studio. Right? Like that can't be cheap, because I'm guessing they're based in like San Francisco or LA area.
I think it was Texas, wasn't it?
They were making like anime and games and stuff as well. They weren't just YouTubers. Like there was much more. It was like,
I mean, to talk about their popularity, they have a video of them playing the Uno video like game for an hour straight, and it's got over 10 million views. Just them playing Uno with voiceovers. Wow. It's like,
were they playing Multiversus at any point?
I don't think so.
Well, there might be, because it's making a comeback. 8 months after the open beta was shut down. Sorry, I found a news article. 8 months after the open beta was shut down, Multiversus might be making a comeback.
Yeah, they did say they'd be back. No, again, I'm not a Smash Bros guy, so like the thought of taking Smash Bros and putting all the WB characters in it, like in a concept world, it should work, because like WB have some great IP, but then just look what they did to Space Jam 2. Getting the creepy rapist from Clockwork Orange and putting them in Space Jam was a choice. But Multiversus reviewed well, but then they had this weird thing where they just said, "Oh, we're going to shutter it, work on it, and we'll be back." And then they've not said anything for like over half a year. So it's like, well, it didn't do well enough to go live fully, but Bugs Bunny fighting Batman and Scooby-Doo and stuff sounds great.
It was an open beta, and it had up at one point over 10 million players.
Yeah, and then they just went, we're going to take it away. And
it dwindled quickly, though. That seems to be the thing. Like, it didn't seem to be able to sustain the numbers. I think there was not a lot of initial hype. People playing, it's great, I really enjoyed it, then moved on.
Yeah.
It's how
I want to know what the fuck Shaggy's going to contribute to that mix. That's what I want to know. He was useless in Scooby-Doo. What's he going to do in this world?
Is it Super Saiyan Shaggy, though? Is a meme thing. Is it Super Saiyan Shaggy? There's a thing with Shaggy where he's like super powerful or something. Is it Super Shaggy? I'll find it. I'll do some research. You guys keep talking.
But Multiversus looks like it might be making a comeback fairly soon. It'll be interesting. I hope it's one of them. This is where games as a service I think can do well, because like a fighting game I think does kind of lend itself into it, because you can constantly add new characters, new rosters, new maps and stuff. Cosmetics, you can just cosmetics the hell out of it. Yeah,
and there's a lot of franchises you can pull in there, right?
Yeah, well, that's it with WB. You could even work Suicide Squad into this, because you need to crawl by that into something. Harry Potter.
Don't. Right, I have the origins of Shaggy if you want to know.
Origins of Shaggy.
It's called Ultra Instinct Shaggy.
Yeah.
And it's part of a series of characters with Shaggy Rogers. The origins was on October 12, 2017, a YouTuber posted an Ultra Instinct remix, whatever that means, featuring Shaggy fighting a gang of thugs from the 2011 Scooby-Doo film, featuring the song Ultimate Battle from the Dragon Ball Z soundtrack in the background. So then was born Super Saiyan Shaggy, which to a point where it became a meme. People were making fan art and stuff of basically Shaggy going ultra instinct, and then to a point where he has like his own powers now. It saw popularity on Reddit and Instagram, developing into its own independent category called Shaggy's Power. to a point where in Multiversus, his special is him going Dragon Ball Z style Super Saiyan, and that's how you've got Super Shaggy.
They worked into Multiversus proper.
Yeah, and I guarantee you part of Multiversus' popularity was the meme culture jumping on, like, I want to play as Shaggy. And if you just Google
surely,
it, there's so much fan art. It's so creepy.
But surely a game, but surely a game like Multiversus, the meme culture is you want that, especially when it's such a crossover. It's like the ridiculousness of what that game is.
Yeah.
But actually, you mentioned Super Saiyans, Chris. We've actually got some sad news. The creator of the Super Saiyan, Akira Toriyama, has passed away.
R.I.P.
Indeed. He actually has a new game due to come out, Sandland, as well.
Oh, yeah,
so
of course, yeah.
So obviously he's best known for Dragon Ball, the full Dragon Ball series, but he's also more in gaming outside the Dragon Ball franchise. He's does a lot of the design work for the Dragon Quest series. So it was just rest
Dragon
in peace.
Ball really is an insane franchise when you you dig into it.
It's
huge. It seems to have pulled into
yeah.
every kind of type of person can have a connection to Dragon Ball in some reason.
Even Shaggy.
Well, the crazy thing is, I can't remember where I was with work, but there's a particular street in London which is the home of all the fashion, kind of new up and coming fashion brands. One of them was doing a collab with Dragon Ball Z at the time, and it was plastered all over the merchandise and stuff. And really high fashion as well, not just kind of spitting out t-shirts. And then you've also got the owner of a gym I go to has all the Dragon Ball Z characters tattooed on his humongous frame, type of thing. It's it just pulls in so many different people.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I could see full on gym bros tend to like Dragon Ball Z because there's a lot of training arcs and stuff.
Yeah,
need to get stronger.
Don't train in 1,000 times gravity or something.
Yeah, it gets full on ridiculous. The original Dragon Ball goes from more of an adventure series of collecting these mystical balls so you can have a magic wish, and the original arc was based on Jenny at the West.
Oh yeah,
and then it went full into space monkeys going with blue spiky hair fighting each other with laser beams.
That's where Helldivers will get to one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the staying power because Dragon Ball debuted in 1984 and still going. Yeah, but
R.I.P.
Some R.I.P. to probably one of the best comic book artists of all time.
And probably Multiversus when it comes back out.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2, Chris, update. You can get the dev tools now by accident.
Yeah, probably at the time when this goes live, it's not a thing. But yeah, they brought a patch for Spider-Man 2, which brought along New Game Plus and stuff, which everyone's been clamouring for since Christmas because it was pushed back and delayed. But yeah, if you jump back into Spider-Man 2, apparently they also in the menu dropped in the dev access codes. You could just jump in and tweak things like enemy strength, I don't think gravity was one of them, but basically some of the dev tools. But they did repost out saying there's a hotfix on the way. Don't mess with the dev tools because you might corrupt a lot of stuff because obviously it's not intended for public access. But yeah, imagine just jumping in and seeing a little option in the menu and going, huh? It's essentially just unlock cheat codes for the 10 million people who bought it.
But it's telling a kid not to touch the crackly fire because it's hot. They're no, it's too interesting. I have to.
Yeah,
type of thing.
It's one of them where it's a shame more games don't give access to more, not game breaking bugs, but behind the scenes access. Everyone loves GTA for the cheat codes. That's part of the hype behind GTA. It's just a shame Spider-Man can't go make him into Slenderman Spider-Man, take off the ragdoll physics or turn all the houses into Lego bricks or just some little daft quirky things like that to make people go back to
because
it.
Because it's linked to achievements now. Cheat codes are far less common, aren't they? Which is a shame.
Yeah, but it'll probably be patched out now, so enjoy it while you can if you want to go and look behind the scenes and tweak what you can, but I'm guessing there's probably not much in there. But yeah, New Game Plus, though, if you want to go back to Spider-Man, now's the time.
Indeed. Isn't much... I find it weird. Is there much point to going back to playing New Game Plus unless you just really want to play more Spider-Man?
I'm kind of past it now.
Just trophies, I think. With the last one, when they added the DLC, The City That Never Sleeps, on the first game, it came with New Game Plus, another couple of trophies, difficulty playthrough, and then the first DLC. But then I think because it's got delayed past Christmas... I don't even think it has extra trophies. So I think it's just more there if you want to go back and do trophy mop-up with all your powers potentially.
It's almost we're finishing things off.
Yeah, well, again, it's a shame it wasn't at launch because I think New Game Plus, I think they do it to add longevity to the game, but as the way I play games personally, I'd rather just have it there and then. Like Banishes right now doesn't have New Game Plus. I have to do a whole other playthrough to get an alternate ending. It's like I would rather just do a New Game Plus with all my powers, so the second playthrough is different enough, but I don't get that option because New Game Plus isn't there yet.
Yeah, I like New Game Plus when there's maybe if I'm doing like a trophy hunt and there's a difficulty trophy, so then you do a New Game Plus on the higher difficulty.
Yeah.
But anyway, few quick stories to round out. We have some more Gamepass games coming, so I'm going to run through these quite quick because we're short on time. Available today, that is on the 5th of March. We have Warhammer 40k Bulk Gun coming soon. So on the 7th of March, Paw Patrol World comes out. 12th of March, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. 13th of March, Control Ultimate Edition. No More Heroes 3 comes on the 14th of March. Lightyear Frontier comes on the 19th of March. And MLB The Show comes on the 19th of March as well. MLB The Show, Game Pass, and the PlayStation first party title.
Yeah, it's made by a PlayStation first party studio, and you can buy it on PlayStation for $70, £70, or you can get it for free on Xbox with Game Pass. And yet,
this is such a strange license.
And this is the third year in a row, and this is all just down to the MLB saying to PlayStation, like, if you want this license, you need to go multi-platform. And PlayStation were like, well, we make a lot of money off this license, so yeah, we'll do that. And it just goes to show everyone kicking off about this Xbox games going on other platforms a couple of weeks back. It already happens the other way for PlayStation, but because it's a sports game that most of the world doesn't care about, it just goes under the radar.
It's actually PlayStation fans getting dicked over here because they have to pay for the game, where if you're an Xbox fan, you just get it with Game Pass. So this is not on PlayStation Plus.
It must sting a little for like the really hardcore, like console wars people.
This is a marketing ploy from Microsoft. Like they pay obviously a set amount of money to get it on Game Pass. So PlayStation do profit. Like Microsoft literally give them a wad of cash to get this day one. PlayStation are clearly happy to take it, but then as a PlayStation gamer, it is like if this was like EA Sports FIFA, and it was like, Chris, you can pay £70 on PlayStation, or it's free on Game Pass, I'd be playing it on Game Pass. So it's a marketing ploy through and through.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
While throwing sand in the face of PlayStation gamers at the same time.
Sand.
Eat sand, you nerd.
Pocket sand.
Talking about sand, Fallout TV show's got a new trailer dropped. Have you watched it?
I have, yeah. Like I was very, very, very impressed. As like probably the biggest Fallout fan of the bunch. I thought they nailed it. The colouring looked right, like the aesthetic looked great. The vault suits looked really good. And
didn't look cheap. Either like everything production wise looked top notch. What I'd expect from a TV series. And
they made like a very brave decision to have one of the main characters be like a chem addicted ghoul. So like I don't think they're going to pull away from the I don't know, like the rougher edges of the Fallout universe by the looks of it.
I think that's the decision you have to make with Fallout. Fallout is very gritty. It's not a nice place, and if you started trying to be a bit too shy around stuff, I think it would maybe take something away. But all episodes will be available on Amazon Prime on the 11th of April.
That's what I like as well. Like they're dropping everything, so I can just watch it in one go.
I think it's a bit of a shame because then you miss that week-to-week discussion and like the fervour around it. But I do think, I think Walter Goggins, that is his real name, who is the ghoul guy. Did you see this week he was in like a news journalist thing? He said he scared himself because when he was in the prosthetics where he's got like his red skull missing nose, he said he forgot he had his prosthetics on. He was on the phone to someone in his family and he caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror and scared the shit out of himself. But again, not a Fallout fan. This looks great. I was saying to Richie this week, I'm thoroughly enjoying the Halo series. Is like not a big fan. I'm just looking for sci-fi TV. Like season 2 is great, and this again looks something that I can just binge watch. Maybe even get the wife involved because it like the juxtaposition between the vault dwellers and the people who are living in like the Mad Max wastelands. You're going to get some such interesting clashes of like how they live, and even in the trailer where that lady says, "Tell me about the last 200 years," and she's like, "Oh shit, you're one of them dwellers. You're so bought into this vault world." There's going to be some great elements of comedy in this, and look, and as someone who's not that knowledgeable about the franchise, I'm really intrigued. This might get me into the games.
It's a good stepping off point for you. Well, you also have the benefit because like it was interesting you brought up the Halo series then, because real like hardcore Halo fans hate the show because it's like unfaithful in some degrees. But I love the show. Like the first season of the show, I haven't watched the second one yet. But the first season was like the combat scenes and some of that, and the way the armor looks was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I can really enjoy that because I'm not so wedded to the franchise.
Same. And the thing is, I think
with Halo, the benefit of that as well.
With Halo, Master Chief is a very well defined character. Fallout, it's like Elder Scrolls or like Starfield, where it is a bit sandboxy. It is almost tell you there's storylines that come in, but your character is blank slate character. Drop it in the world. And it's like go tell the players through the story you want to play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it almost has infinite potential, really, to keep just going.
Yeah.
I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I thought it looked really cool. I hadn't paid that much attention to it before, but I'm pretty much sold.
Nice. And me and Richie were fan casting Gears of War on Thursday. Rob were basically saying it was get a bunch of WWE meatheads in. It was basically like The Rock, Cena, and Batista are pretty much your main cast.
Batista is dumb. Yeah. Easy. That's like an easy cast.
Yeah.
I would have said Ron Perlman as Marcus Phoenix like 10 years ago, but maybe not now.
But love to see it.
Just you need to get The Rock in there because then it'll do huge numbers.
Yeah, true.
Last story of the week, nice quick one. The Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is coming to PC on the 16th of May.
That means the sequel's got to be soon.
Imagine how good that's going to look.
Especially in that filtered mode as well.
Yeah.
What's it called again? I can't remember what it is.
The
Kurosawa?
Kurosawa?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Black and white mode.
It's also got fully optimized for resolutions 21:9, 32:9, and 48:9 resolutions. Nice. So if you have widescreen or triple monitor,
you could have Populous the beginning running on in the corner and have this blown out everywhere else.
I think this is going to be absolutely beautiful. It's beautiful on the PlayStation. It's beautiful on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
When the GAAS gets on the PC, I think it's going to look incredible. And just think of the mods.
Dildo katanas. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I want like a Last Samurai mod where you play as Tom Cruise instead.
Right, let's round out the show with This Week in Gaming History. Is anything jumping out to you guys?
Oh, I need to have a look. Let's
see. The Terminator on the Sega CD.
This is for March the 8th.
March the 8th. Nothing on March the 8th. Yeah, it's a bit of a dull one.
Dragon Age 2, which was a disappointment.
Ooh, I've got one for March 9th. 25 years ago, Army Men 3D. That was also one of them games I bought from the Wilkinson rotating rack, and it was great. Playing as a plastic army soldier. I loved it.
Yeah. Super Mario RPG, Legend of 7 Stars, I've heard good things about. I've never played any of the Mario RPGs, though.
Ooh.
Operation Genesis was the 10th of March.
I was going to say,
21 years ago. I remember you lent me that game on PlayStation, Chris, and there was a trick where you could open up your disc drive and then the game would still play for like an hour or two because you didn't have to like load something or whatever. So you had to go home because it was like 8:30 and we had to be home by 8:30. So like you took the disc and I just kept playing for like an hour until it crashed.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, throwback to Command and Conquer when Red Alert 2 came with the Allied disc and the Soviet disc. Yeah. And you could literally, once you'd installed it on your computer, you could use either disc. So I used to install it around my nan and granddad's house, our home house, and then keep a different disc at each other's house so I could play it wherever I was. You don't really get that anymore. But yeah, March 10th, Operation Genesis, phenomenal game. And Star Wars Jedi Starfighter was another good solid one.
I like that because it had the 3 characters, didn't it? You had like the Naboo fighter, like a really like heavy gun platform, and then something else.
But I will point out, because I think I have to, is March 10th also my daughter's birthday.
Happy birthday.
No, March 11th. Sorry, that was wrong. Shit.
Sorry,
we were in the hospital. No, we were in the hospital.
Nickel
it's because it's a party. That's why I'm getting confused.
Yeah,
it's Mario Day, March 10th. That's what I'm getting confused with. It's Mario Day, March 11th.
Don't worry, we won't tell your wife.
She doesn't listen to this shit anyway.
March 11th was Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. Also Akira Toriyama, I think. But with that, that's all we have time for this week. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so you keep in the loop of all the great content. Don't forget, we do have a 20% discount over at the store. Links are in the description below. We also have a Discord server, so if you want to hang out and talk awesome games with some awesome people, you know where to find it. And with that, my name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.